So this gentleman's story, even though we disagree as far as religion is concerned, but this gentleman's story is truly inspiring, and it also exemplifies exactly what I mean when I say that whatever pathway works for you, go do that thing and do it in earnest, but don't think that everybody else has to follow it. Now, Bob here is very respectful in his commentary. He talks about the fact that, and I'm not going to read it all for you. I will bring up the other portion of it because it's rather long. But he was wondering why I call Christianity mental slavery. You see, for me, Christianity is a form of slavery as well as all other religions, because any religion that tells you that you are to turn the other cheek when you've been assaulted, any religion that tells you that you are to bash your children to death if they dishonor you, or you are to stone homosexual people, you're to stone people you declare to be witches, you to stone somebody who uses the deity's name in a curse, all these types of things. If you wear mixed linen, you are to be stoned and put to death, or you're excommunicated. Or if your daughter is not found not to be a virgin, that she is to be stoned to death when she's given to marriage. All these types of immoral things that is within this book is the reason why I cannot walk with this book, and why this book is so immoral and it enslaves people. When it tells you, slaves, be good to your masters, whether they are good or bad or cruel is the actual word it uses, whether they are good or cruel masters, that you are still supposed to give homage and be obedient to this cruel slave master. Those are things that are of mental slavery. When it tells you that whatever government that is over you is the one that God appointed over you, and that you are supposed to pray for the leaders of that government, those are mental slavery things that I cannot abide with this book. And you then got into about morality, and the Egyptians had having it, and any society would have, just like with the Hammurabi Code. They had a sense of law that came before your 10 Commandments. And as far as our understanding of Egyptian hieroglyphs, we have a very great grasp of Egyptian hieroglyphs ever since the Rosetta Stone was discovered, which showed Egyptian hieroglyphics mixed in, and the exact same copy that was in Greek and I believe cuneiform, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it was Greek and hieroglyphics. It might have been Akkadian cuneiform, but it was the language key that broke the lock from us understanding hieroglyphics. So scholars are very well astute in the Egyptian hieroglyphics for us to know a great deal about their history, more so than we know about most other cultures from that time frame, because of how well preserved it was. So that's really not an issue. But the other part I want to get into about this gentleman is how that he says that he's a Christian, but he's not a holy roller. He doesn't preach, and his beliefs are his own. I like that. They're your own beliefs, and you follow your own beliefs, and that's good. And even though it's something that I disagree with, that's fine. But it's this part here that I keep expressing to people, and this is a very important thing. And I will read this part. He says that when I was 18, he said that he went to prison when he was 18 and got out when he was 30. Just living within the confines of the 10 Commandments has done me tremendously. Learned a trade upon my release, mastered the trade, outworked my peers, started my own business. Now at 53, I'm semi-retired, living in the Great Smoky Mountains. Life is good. I respect that. You see, many people claim a religion, and then they go into, and not until some travesty happened into their life do they actually start abiding by this religion. Now, for this gentleman, for Bob, it may just be certain acts of the 10 Commandments that he followed. Don't steal, don't kill, don't bear false witness, don't covet another man's wife. I don't know if he keeps the Sabbath. He says he doesn't go to church, so he may not keep the Sabbath. Have no God before me. So within those 10 commandments that are the original 10 commandments that then were thrown to the ground, and then another different 10 commandments were written, you can live that life on that morality and you'll do pretty well in life. That's good energy. That's good work. You know, by abiding by the not killing, not stealing, honoring your parents, not coveting your neighbor's property or your neighbor's wife. Those are some very good things that you should do, and you're pretty much going to be a decent guy, somebody I wouldn't mind having as a neighbor, because I'm not going to be concerned about you stealing from me or coveting or, you know, murdering me or anything of that nature. If you smoke cigars, I probably would invite you over and we sit, smoke cigars, and just talk about anything, and still have a mutual respect for each other. That's why I like this commentary that you put on here. But the reason why I cannot get with your Bible and Jesus, I understand for you, you look and you see a microcosm. You see 10 commandments. You see only these nice, neatly packed good things that comes from doctrine. Whereas for me, I see the entire book. And for the entire book to be so torrid, to be so putrid, with so much war and genocide, with this God commanding genocide, with him saying that David is a man after my own heart. And Saul had David go and get 100 foreskins, but David went and killed 200 Phoenicians and mutilated their bodies and took 200 foreskins. And God approved, your God of this Bible approved that. And for me, there is no separation between the Old Testament and the New Testament. If you believe in the Trinity, if you believe that this is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, led up through the lineage into David and Solomon and into Jesus, then this is your God in the Old Testament, and it must not be denied. And if the root of the tree is poison, then so is the fruit, even when the fruit tastes sweet. I told you guys a story before about how I had a grapefruit tree in my backyard in Florida. When I first moved there, the fruit was sweet. But for years, what I did not know, there were carpenter ants had bored in and were destroying the roots. And every year the fruit was less sweet and less producing. And after a while, I realized I had to uproot the entire tree. That's what Christianity, that's what Islam, that's what all these religions are to me. They are poisonous fruit. And they are losing their quantity, their bushels, because people are recognizing how damaged the roots are in this religion, in all these religions. And for me, I speak mostly on Christianity because it's the one that I was born into. It's the one that I grew up in. So it is the one that has put the most bad taste in my mouth, because the fruit of Christianity from its rotten roots are so detestable that when I look at the big picture of it, it is not something that I could follow. It is not something that I will be willing to teach my children. To tell my girls that if you're not a virgin, you should be stoned at marriage. That if your husband becomes jealous and thinks that you cheated on him, should give you a magic potion made by the priest, so that if you are found guilty by God, then you will miscarriage. This is a religion that you expect me to teach my children, that you expect me to live by. That if I see a gay person, I should stone that gay person when they are committing the act of homosexuality. No, you cannot call this religion moral. One that says that of the foreigners, make into slaves and pass them on for generations. That the land has to maintain a Sabbath. And every 7th year, don't work the land. Let the land have a break. This is a ludicrous God. This is a God that doesn't even understand the science that we have today. So it cannot be my God. It cannot be what I worship. But if it works for you, if your microcosm keeps you as a moral person, then stay with it. As long as you don't branch out into the other aspects of your religion that you know would land you in jail again, then I grant you all the peace and all the serenity in the world. And I truly, truly mean it, that you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And truly to you, Bob, good journey, good vibrations.